Hi guys, my name's Stevie and I like to write songs. Thanks for checking out my Steve Vai tribute. I had a very nice surprise this week when I checked my YouTube channel and discovered that I now have 500 subscribers. This is a very exciting development and an awesome milestone in the growth of my YouTube channel. So thank you so much guys, I really appreciate it. It's very encouraging. If you just wanted to hear the song, then thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Leave some comments. I would love to know what you guys think. If you would like to see how the song was made, then stick around and we'll get all the nerdy stuff done now. Let's go. Steve Vai was a huge influence on me as a teenager growing up. He's not only a master virtuoso guitar player, but he's also a very good teacher, and he talks very in-depth and philosophically about the whole music making process. So he's a very valuable godfather to the guitar community. He first became a professional musician playing for Frank Zappa when he was a teenager, but then he came to my attention when he joined the Dave Lee Roth band, and there he played in a supergroup with some other fantastic musicians. Those Dave Lee Roth albums were albums that I listened to on an almost daily basis when I was young. He was also in the band Whitesnake for one album. Now it was around this time that he released the solo instrumental album Passion and Warfare, which is considered by most to be a seminal instrumental guitar album. Like most of us guitar players, I bought the tab for this album and spent years studying it. So it's a very important part of my life, the Passion and Warfare tab book. Since then, he has released lots of solo instrumental albums, and he has gained a reputation for being at the very pinnacle of instrumental guitar music. So this is my attempt to display some of the influences that Steve Vai has had on me over the years and some of the things that I've learned from his guitar playing. Let's have a look at the Reaper tracks and see how the song was constructed. So we can see here on the Reaper track that we have 5 folders, one for drums, one for bass, one for rhythm guitars, and one for lead guitars. And let's look at these individually and see what plugins I have on them. So on the drums, I'm using Perfect Drums, and here's the mixer settings here. On the mixer page, I've routed each of the individual drum parts: kick, snare, toms, hi-hats, and overheads. And I've grouped them up and routed them out onto separate tracks in Reaper, so they appear in here on the separate tracks in Reaper. This gives me the ability to individually mix the items, and on some of them, I actually have some extra EQ and compression. So this is the kick drum settings, and this is the overhead settings. The bass guitar uses Helix Native, and I have it split up into 2 separate channels. One is a DI track with a bit of compression on it. The other is an amped track, which is using the Ampeg amp and 8x10 cab. There's also a distortion pedal in front of it, some compression, and a bit of post EQ as well. Another important thing about the bass guitar is that I'm using track spacer on it. Now we can see down here on the kick drum that I have routed the bass guitar like that, which has set up a sidechain channel so that the kick drum sends its sidechain signal to track spacer, so that every time the kick drum hits, it dips the bass guitar ever so slightly. Let's see that in action. I have set a low pass here so that we're only really affecting the lower parts of the bass guitar, the parts that really interfere with the kick drum. We can listen to the sidechain of the kick drum coming into track spacer here. Okay. And we can also hear what's being taken away with the delta function. So that's what's being taken away from the bass guitar. It really gives a strong feeling that the bass guitar and the kick drum are merged very well together. Let's hear them both together. On the master output of the drums, I've got parallel compression, and it's using the Shadow Hills compressor, and it's a preset called Drum Smashed. The parallel is set to about 50%. And just on the overall track, I have set a tiny bit of clipping just to make sure that we don't send any clip signals on through to the rest of the tracks. I have 4 keyboard tracks here: electric piano, brass, strings, and choir. They don't play the whole way through the track, they just come in at certain moments for a bit of colour to the track. So the first thing to come in is the brass, and I'm using a preset called Big Brass on the Korg Triton. Let's hear that. I like that because it's got a kind of a sforzando where the brass gets slightly louder as it plays on. So let's hear that with the bass and drums. Now the next track is the electric piano, which is just highlighting some of the guitar parts, just adding a sparkle to the top of the guitar parts. I'm using Analog Lab Intro for this, and it's an electric piano patch called Electronic Dreams. Let's hear that. And with the bass and drums. So then the brass come in again. And up here the piano comes in again. And it's at this point that the choir comes in. So let's have a look at the choir. The choir is Men's A choir mod on Colossus. And then when we get to the slower section, the middle part of the song, I've added strings. And the strings are just playing a long, slow melody. And it's using String Ensemble 2 on Colossus. That eventually builds up and the electric piano adds in as well. Doubling up on the guitar parts. So this keyboard part here slightly reminds me of Prince, 1999, which is funny because I was very much into Prince at the same time of my life that I was into Steve Vai. So for some reason, they're both very strongly linked in my mind. So through the process of osmosis, I think some Prince influences appeared in this track as well. Let's look at the guitar parts now. So the main guitar part that we hear at the very beginning is a piezo acoustic sound. This very clean DI'd guitar sound is something that I associate a lot with early Steve Vai. It's actually an electric guitar using normal humbucker pickups, but it's using a piezo setup on the Neural DSP Petrucci plugin. And I've got that doubled up with other normal electric guitars. So let's look how they're set up. These are two guitars panned left and right as well. And I'm using my normal U2 style clean sound, although I've turned off the delays on it. So it's just this AC30 amp model. So the two guitars together sound like this. And then everything together sounds like this. Then we come into a new section. Heavy rhythm guitars come in. So let's see what's happening here. This is my normal rhythm guitar sound, which is a Rev Gen amp into an ML SoundLab IR. I'm probably going to be changing all my IRs up soon because the new 3.5 Helix is very interesting to me and I'm going to be experimenting with that. And we have lead guitars as well coming in, both panned left and right as well. And they're using a lead guitar patch that I use on the Petrucci Archetype plugin. So everything together now. Other clean guitars playing a lead guitar part come in here. And they're using the Count of Tuscany preset on the Neural DSP Petrucci Architect plugin. Playing the same melody. Playing the same melody as the electric piano. Okay. And this is where the first lead guitar solo comes in. On this first lead guitar, I've done something that I hear Steve Vai doing a lot, especially in his early days with Dave Lee Roth and Passion and Warfare. He plays lead guitar in unison, panned left and right. Now, we do this a lot for rhythm guitars, But Steve Vai sort of made this sound his own. I think sometimes he uses delay pedals to achieve this effect, and other times he actually plays the two guitars in. Sometimes they're in unison and sometimes they're in harmony. Let's hear. I'll talk some more about some of the Steve Vai habits and tropes that I played on the guitar during the guitar lesson part of this song. We move on then to a very different part of the song where I go into a clean guitar part. And that's got strings and a really sustainy bass sound on it. And during this part of the song, I tried to emulate the whammy pedal effect that Steve Vai uses in Touching Tongues, but I didn't use a whammy pedal. I just slid the guitar up and down octaves, and I added left and right echoes on it. So the way that's set up is we have the original guitar playing it here, and then I copied it onto the left and right lead guitar tracks. And this leads up to the main melodic section of the song where I'm using wah-wah on the left and right lead guitars. So this is a guitar playing this riff. And another guitar copied to play the same riff a bar later, so it gives a sort of canon fugue effect. And also in this section, I've got a reverse guitar part. And the way this is set up, it's got reverse delay. It's got two instances of reverse delay, one panned hard left and one panned hard right. One of them is delaying the sound by a whole bar, and the other is delaying the sound by a half a bar. And it's playing the same thing as the lead guitars, so let's hear them together. And I've got electric piano and strings playing along with that. And then we go into a heavy riff that announces the final section of the song. We hear a motif that's been introduced earlier on, but now it's been reharmonized with new chords. Now there's an interesting thing happening here in the background of this. We've got clean guitars. So let's play that without the lead guitar so that you can hear clearly what's going on in the background of the track. And with the lead guitar. And this brings us to the main lead guitar solo of the song. So there's a very simple backing track happening here. We have rhythm guitars playing a palm muting part, which is doubled up on the bass guitar. And I play a Mixolydian guitar solo over the top of it. Back to the double lead guitars. Back to that section. And then we finish off with the heavy riff, and that's the whole arrangement of the song. Let's look at what's happening on the master track. So I've got a bit of EQ that's cutting out some 500 and boosting around 100. We're adding more punch to the kick drum, and we're taking out some of the low mid mud. I thought overall the song lacked a bit of brightness, so I've just added just a bit of fresh air to the top end, just to add a bit of sparkle to the top end. And to master the whole thing at the end, I'm using the Brainworks Master Desk. I couldn't help myself in this year's Black Friday, and I upgraded to the True Peak. But I'm basically doing the same thing that I always do, 93% parallel compression, give myself plenty of overhead here in the output trim, and you just use this main volume to drive yourself into the green, like that. Now if I wanted, I could drive it a bit harder and be right up at the top end of the green, which I may do when I finalise the track. For now, that amount of headroom is good. I'm also monoizing anything below 100 Hz and slightly widening anything above that, just to give it more of a stereo feel and control the low end a bit better. But that's it, that's the whole track. Let's move on to the guitar lesson section of this video. Okay, so in the first section, we have the rhythm guitars doing this. Which I'm going to see as an A Lydian setup. So we're playing here in A. But we've got this B that can go on top of it. So that sets us up for an A Lydian. So we start off on a... I think I did a pinch harmonic there. So we're doing some octave skips. And a lot of slides. So we're sliding up a full octave there. More octaves. So we're doing a lot of octaves and slides. So then after this section, where we're playing the sort of B into A, we go down to G sharp minor. And in this, we spread out the chord. So let's look at that again. And then the straight diatonic run. This is just a straightforward G minor run. Pulling off 3 notes in each string. And that takes us onto the main motif section where we're playing this riff. Now we play different versions of this. We sometimes play it up here. And sometimes here. And we sometimes play it in harmony, so we've got... Harmonies in fourths and fifths are very reminiscent of Steve Vai to me. And we play different versions of that until it moves to the second section of the song. The next section of the song takes us onto a straightforward E minor. So it's that kind of thing going on in the background. So we're doing a lot of straightforward E minor and harmonic minor. So here, it's your harmonic minor note there. So that's a harmonic minor run up. So still doing a lot of slides, big slides. The next part is the part where I try to emulate the Digitech whammy pedal section. So I'm doing a lot of slides. And then a tapping section, which taps on the 24th fret each time. An arpeggio. And then we go into this whammy bar section. And finish on harmonics. We've got a complicated tapping section coming up next. Let's have a look at that again. The guitars go back into harmony again, and one guitar is playing starting on the 5th. The other guitar starts playing on the 8th. So we do this. So the harmony is something like this. Back to the main motif. And then after that, we go into a repeating pattern, which sounds like this. And we're using wah-wah on it. Then up an octave. Still using the wah-wah. This brings us to the section where we go into the heavy riff. And over that we play the main motif again. And this takes us to the main lead guitar part of the song. So in this part of the song, we're playing this riff on the rhythm guitar. Instead of hearing this as a minor, I choose to hear it as Mixolydian instead. The first part is sweep picking. And then we go into another octave slide part. This is an interesting one here where we're playing the 12 and 14 on every fret on the guitar. Okay, and then we do a big Mixolydian run in A. Okay, so the main pattern is we do that. Let's hear at full speed. And that takes us up to then we do a harmony section, which is slightly weird sounding. The first harmony is the same thing up an octave. And the harmony is then we have a tapping run where we tap first and then pull off onto the other two notes. So this looks like a B minor, which is actually also a mixolydian again. Then we start up here and we do the same thing again, moving on down. Until we get to there. And back to the whammy bar. That brings us to the final climactic element of the song, where we have two different guitar parts playing together. So the first one is the... And at exactly the same time we have... And we repeat that a few times until the main heavy riff comes back again. That brings us to an end. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed my deep dive into Steve Vai today. If you've got any comments or suggestions, things that you think maybe I got wrong about Steve Vai, or ideas of things you would like to see me do in the future, please let me know in the comments. And don't forget, guys, to like and subscribe and help my channel to grow, all that stuff. It's very much appreciated. Thanks, guys, for watching. I hope you found that useful and enjoyable today. You guys rock.